Before the first breath, before the body, before your name was whispered for the first time, there was intention, a vibration, a decision made not by mind, but by soul. You are not here by chance. Nothing about your existence is random. Beneath the veil of forgetfulness, you made a choice. You orchestrated this life, this body, this path, from a place beyond time, beyond the noise of this world. Weiss teaches us that the soul is not confined by the linearity of time. In the quiet realms between incarnations, there exists a space of stillness where we, as eternal consciousness, meet our guides. In that sacred space, we review, reflect, and remember. We trace the threads of past lives not as burdens but as blueprints. Each experience, each relationship, each pain is part of a tapestry woven with precision and love. Imagine for a moment that nothing in your current life is accidental. Not the people who hurt you, not the ones who healed you, not even the wounds you carry in silence. They were chosen, not as punishments but as portals, as opportunities to evolve, to remember. Many resist this idea. The ego wants to believe it is in control. It wants logic, not mystery. But the soul whispers differently. It speaks in symbols, in dreams, in synchronicities. It reminds us that our suffering is not meaningless. It's a signal, a coded message from the self that existed before birth. When Weiss guided patients through past life regressions, something miraculous often happened. As the body relaxed and the mind surrendered, deeper truths surfaced. People recalled lifetimes they never read about, languages they never learned. They saw themselves in bodies they never had, yet the emotions, the wisdom, the patterns were unmistakably theirs. What emerged was not fantasy but memory, ancient memory, and with that memory came peace. Because when you remember that you planned this life, its joy, its loss, its turning points, you begin to shift from victimhood to presence. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin to ask, "What is this trying to show me?" That question alone opens a doorway to freedom. But let's go deeper. If your soul chose this life, then perhaps it also chose its limitations. Your insecurities, your fears, your obstacles are not flaws. They are carefully selected lessons placed with love and divine timing, lessons designed not to break you, but to awaken you. What if the heartbreak you endured was a sacred initiation? What if the illness you battled was a catalyst for remembrance? What if the family you were born into was the perfect environment to test the strength of your spirit? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary, because until we begin to reclaim the authorship of our own story, we live as if we are characters in someone else's script. The truth is, you are the script, you are the writer, and you are the one who will eventually wake up inside the story you yourself created. So pause here. Feel that. Let the idea settle in your chest like a soft weight. You are not lost. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be. Every twist in your path was placed there to return you to yourself. And if this resonates, if something deep within you is remembering even now, then let that be a sign that it's time to walk with more awareness, to remember more, to reclaim more. If these words echo in your heart, it's because you've always known. And if you've always known, then maybe you're ready to remember. Subscribe to this channel if you feel this quiet truth stirring inside. Something ancient, something yours. If the soul plans its journey before birth, then it must have access to a map far more intricate than any human mind could imagine. This map, this sacred blueprint, is not written in ink, but in energy. It vibrates with the essence of lessons waiting to be lived, contracts formed in love, and challenges that serve as hidden keys. In the quiet of the pre-life state, surrounded by guides and elders of light, we glimpse the broader arc of our evolution. We see not just one life, but many. Patterns emerge, themes repeat, not as cycles of punishment, but as spirals of growth. In this space, the soul is honest. There is no denial, no blame, no illusion, only clarity and love. It sees what must be healed, what must be balanced, and what must be remembered. Weiss describes this space as a realm beyond words, where souls choose experiences not for comfort, but for transformation. A soul may choose poverty to understand value. Another may choose betrayal to discover forgiveness. These are not random choices. They are conscious acts of courage. The soul, in its wisdom, selects the precise family, culture, and timing to support the unfolding of those experiences. You may wonder, why would anyone choose pain? Because the soul does not fear pain. It does not judge experience as good or bad. It only seeks expansion. Pain, from the soul's perspective, is not suffering, it is awakening. A crack in the surface of identity through which light can pour. The ego recoils, but the soul leans in. When we forget this blueprint, we feel lost. We resist. We ask, why me? But when we begin to remember, even faintly, we reclaim power. Not the power to control outcomes, but the deeper power to align with them, to flow with them, to extract meaning even from moments of darkness. This remembrance often begins subtly, through a dream, a book, a synchronicity. Perhaps you've experienced it yourself, a moment when something within you stirred, like an old song you suddenly recognize. That's the soul nudging you, reminding you that you are not alone. You are never alone. Brian Weiss's work revealed that within each person lies access to this blueprint. Through regression, people accessed memories not just of lifetimes, but of the spaces between them. They described choosing their parents, their major life events, and even specific character traits, challenges and all. And these recollections brought deep peace even in the face of tragedy. Why? Because with remembrance comes purpose. Think about your own life, the turning points, the heartbreaks, the moments that shattered you, and the ones that rebuilt you. What if none of them were accidents? What if, before you came here, you saw them and said, yes, I choose this. I will grow through this. That perspective does not erase the pain, but it transforms it. This is not about bypassing the human experience. It is about honoring it more fully. Knowing that behind the curtain of confusion, there is a deeper stage on which your soul is performing a sacred play. And every actor, every scene, every silence has meaning. So ask yourself now, not with the mind, but with the heart. What part of my blueprint am I living? What challenge before you might be the very thing you came here to face? Let the question linger. Let it open a space inside you, because within that space the answer may rise, not as a thought but as a feeling, a knowing, and that knowing is the beginning of remembering who you really are. What if the people in your life, especially those who challenge you the most, were chosen by you, not from ego but from soul, not to wound, but to awaken? The blueprint of the soul, as Brian Weiss suggests, is not just about individual evolution. It is also about the intricate dance of souls, relationships that mirror, provoke, support, and transform. Before birth, we make soul agreements. These are not binding in the way earthly contracts are. They are more like invitations. A soul may say, I will come into your life to help you remember compassion. Another may say, I will break your heart so you may learn to keep it open. These are not punishments. They are sacred tasks, roles agreed upon with deep love and courage. Some of these contracts last a lifetime. Others pass through like a storm, brief, intense, unforgettable, but all are significant. Even the ones that seem cruel or senseless, especially those, because the greater the emotional charge, the deeper the lesson often buried beneath. This doesn't mean we must stay in harmful situations or romanticize abuse. Free will remains. Boundaries matter. But even in choosing to walk away, there is wisdom in asking, what was this person here to show me? What part of myself was mirrored in them? Brian Weiss found again and again that people recognized souls from past lives, sometimes in family members, lovers, friends, or even strangers who left a lasting mark. The recognition wasn't always logical. It came as a feeling, a pull, a sense of timelessness, as if the soul whispered, we've been here before. Perhaps you felt it. That inexplicable bond, that instant resonance or tension, souls meeting again across the vast sea of lifetimes to complete something left unfinished or to begin something entirely new. These connections are not accidents. They are the architecture of remembrance. And yet with these agreements comes amnesia. We forget on purpose, because the lesson must be real. If we remembered everything, there would be no growth. It is in the forgetting and the gradual remembering that transformation occurs. The pain, the joy, the confusion, all of it becomes the soil where wisdom grows. The beauty of this framework is that it softens judgment. When you begin to see others not as enemies or mistakes, but as fellow travelers playing their part, compassion naturally arises. Even those who hurt you become part of your evolution, not in a passive way, but in a powerful one. You get to choose how you respond. You get to extract meaning, you get to remember, and in remembering, you reclaim your sovereignty. This perspective doesn't eliminate suffering, but it reframes it. It places your life in a broader, more compassionate context. It reminds you that even when it feels like everything is falling apart, something deeper is falling into place. So reflect now on your relationships, the ones that shaped you, the ones that broke you open. What if they were soul contracts? What if every heartbreak, every betrayal, every moment of connection was a part of a sacred design, not to punish, but to propel you forward? Let this idea soften your heart. Let it dissolve blame. Let it open a door to gratitude, not for the pain, but for the growth it made possible. And ask yourself gently, who in my life might be playing a role I once asked them to play? Sit with the question. Let it echo, because sometimes remembering the contract is enough to shift the entire story, and from that shift, healing begins. There is a reason we do not remember our plans, a reason we are born into forgetting. This veil, thin yet complete, serves a purpose as sacred as the plan itself. Without it, the lessons would lose their meaning. The experiences would become rehearsals rather than revelations. The soul chooses amnesia not to punish, but to invite discovery. In the space between lives, we are vast. We remember all. We see with clarity. But once we cross into this world, once the body forms and the senses anchor us, that vastness narrows. It has to. The human experience requires focus, requires immersion. The forgetting is part of the gift. Weiss observed that when people recalled their past lives or pre-life memories, it often didn't come through intellect. It came through feeling, through vision, through a sense of homecoming. The awakening was not about acquiring new knowledge, but about removing the dust from something ancient. The truth had always been there, just buried beneath layers of noise, trauma, distraction. And so we live much of our lives behind the veil, questioning, searching, wondering why things unfold the way they do. We build identities, chase goals, love and lose, suffer and celebrate, until something stirs. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's a collapse, but in that moment, something cracks open. The veil thins, and a question arises not from the mind, but from the soul. What is really happening here? This moment, this rupture, is sacred. It is not a mistake. It is the soul whispering through the illusion. And what follows is often confusion, because everything familiar begins to shift. But within that disorientation is the seed of awakening. A return to something you've always known but forgotten. This is the nature of spiritual remembrance. It is not about learning, it is about returning, remembering who you are beyond the mask, beyond the roles, beyond the trauma. You are not your name, your job, your past. You are the witness behind it all, the consciousness watching, evolving, waiting for the right moment to emerge. And as this awareness grows, so too does your perception. You begin to notice the patterns, the synchronicities, the hidden threads weaving your story. Things you once dismissed as coincidence now feel orchestrated. Encounters take on new meaning. Pain reveals purpose. You start to see with soul eyes. But awakening is not a destination. It is a process, a spiral, one layer at a time. The more you remember, the more the veil lifts, and yet the veil never fully disappears, not while in the body. It remains lightly as a teacher, to humble, to deepen, to guide. Weiss's work reminds us that this awakening can be gentle. It doesn't always require regression or spiritual crisis. Sometimes all it takes is stillness, the courage to sit with yourself, to listen beyond thought, to feel what has always been true beneath the noise of life. You may begin to recall not just who you are, but why you came. A sense of purpose arises, not one imposed from outside, but one remembered from within. It may not come with details, it may not be loud, but it will feel like alignment, like breath returning to its source, and from there your life begins to reorganize. Not because anything outside changes, but because your perception transforms. You are no longer a passive observer of fate. You are a conscious participant in a sacred unfolding. So pause here again. Breathe. Feel into this moment. Something within you has always known there was more, something that has waited patiently for you to remember. That knowing is the beginning of awakening. Once the veil begins to lift, even slightly, life no longer feels like a sequence of random events. Instead, it begins to pulse with meaning. Every moment, every meeting, every loss, even the quiet spaces between, becomes part of something vast and intelligent. The plan you created before birth is not rigid. It breathes with you, it adapts. It invites participation, not submission. You are not a puppet of destiny. You are a co-creator, always given choice. But those choices become clearer, lighter, when you remember who you really are. And who you are is timeless, boundless. You are not the story, you are the awareness holding the story. And from that awareness you can live differently. Brian Weiss's work is a reminder that healing does not mean erasing the past. It means remembering the past from a higher perspective. Not just this life, but many. And in doing so, you dissolve the weight of karma, not through effort, but through understanding. When you remember your soul's intentions, fear begins to lose its grip, because you realize you are guided, watched over, loved. Living awake doesn't mean you escape pain. It means you move through it with presence. It means you trust that what arrives in your life arrives not to break you, but to reveal you. Each challenge holds a mirror, each joy, a memory, each pause, a doorway. You may find that your interests change. You begin to crave silence. You feel drawn to nature, to stillness, to deeper conversations. You listen more. You react less. You are no longer hungry for validation because your center has shifted inward. You are no longer rushing to become. You are remembering that you already are. And as you shift, your reality shifts with you. This is the quantum leap. Not a leap outside yourself, but a leap inward. A shift in vibration, a return to resonance. When your inner world changes, your outer world cannot remain the same. This is not magic, it is law. You begin to attract different people, different opportunities, different timelines, ones that reflect your new frequency. Brian Weiss spoke of patients who, after remembering, no longer carried the same emotional charge around old wounds. It was as if the story remained, but the suffering had evaporated. Not through denial, but through integration. The pain had fulfilled its purpose, and so, it released them. You can release too. You are not here to suffer endlessly. You are here to evolve, to feel, to remember love in all its forms, even in heartbreak, even in silence, even in the moments that feel empty, especially in those. Because emptiness is not the absence of something, but the space where something true can arise. So ask yourself, what am I here to remember? What am I here to release? And what am I ready to become? Let these questions ripple through your being. You don't need immediate answers. The soul speaks in time, through subtle signs, through gentle urgings. Listen, watch, be present. The path will continue to reveal itself moment by moment, breath by breath. And if these words touch something ancient inside you, something quiet but alive, then that is the sign you were waiting for. The confirmation that you're not imagining the deeper purpose of your life, you're remembering it. The leap is not coming, it has already begun. If these words touched your soul, subscribe to the channel and click on the video that just appeared on your screen. It was chosen especially for you. I know you'll love it.